It's branded into all of our hearts. How do we get there from here? You know, as young, single, young adults, you know, looking for this love, where do we build this? How do we find this? It's in all of our hearts that we want this. There's a young woman who wrote a book, her name is Wendy Shalit. She is a phenomenal author on modesty. She wrote a book called The Return to Modesty, and then another one called Girls Gone Mild, which was a great book. And in Girls Gone Mild, she explains how she was riding in the backseat of a car, and in the front seat were a pair of an elderly couple. I don't remember if they're her grandparents or not, but they were driving along, and the grandmother had apparently terrible Alzheimer's. She couldn't remember a thing. And so they're driving for a little while, and the grandmother forgets where they're going. So she turns to the grandpa, where are we going? And he says, oh, we're going to go have brunch with Wendy here in the back seat. Oh, hey, Wendy, hey there. And then they're driving another minute, and she forgets where they're going. And so she asks the grandpa, where are we going? Oh, we're going to brunch with Wendy. Oh, that'll be pleasant. Another minute, she asks the question again. Now, this went on for a 20-minute car ride. Every minute, forgot where they... Now, Wendy said after about a minute of this, she felt like jumping out of the moving vehicle. She couldn't take it anymore. But she said it was fascinating to watch because... She said every time the woman would ask her husband, where are we going, she said he would answer her as if it were the first time that she asked the question. Because he didn't want her to realize how her mind was beginning to fail her. And so he just answered her like it were the first time. Now as the years progressed, her Alzheimer's took over and she couldn't remember a thing. She lost all memory of recollection. She even forgot who her husband was. They'd been married, I guess, over 50 or 60 years, but she had no idea who this man was. And one day while he was taking care of her and she was sick in bed, she looked at him and she says, you know, she says, I don't know who you are, but I think you're the best. Think of this, and every woman longs to be loved like this, even in the hearts of a man. I mean, we don't get teared up about these stories, but there's something in us that says, yeah, you know, that's where I want to get. I want to be able to love a woman so selflessly that I completely forget about myself in the process, that loving her saves me from myself. We want this. And it seems like it used to exist all over the place. There used to be always long-lasting marriages. I got a letter in the mail once from a woman, and she talked to me about her dating relationship. She's 82 years old now, and she said, back in the 1940s, she says, I was a nursing student at San Diego Mercy Hospital. With my buddies on our free Saturday evenings. We had a 10:30 p.m. curfew, but we'd go out, and she said we enjoyed the dances, where we were constantly and happily dating young Navy and Marine men. She said in those days, chastity was a given. It was taken for granted. She said most of us received many more than 1 or 2 marriage proposals. Going back to when I first dating in 1940, by 1945, my own count was a 10. 10 marriage proposals from Navy and Marine guys. All during 1946, the days past graduation, were followed by marriages for almost all of us in the class. These are marriages that lasted throughout our lifetimes. Still in touch with my best friends those days. A few months ago, I went to my friend's 60th wedding anniversary. And so she had her 50th anniversary, then her 55th wedding anniversary. Her husband got Alzheimer's disease and increasingly got worse, and eventually, after their 55th wedding anniversary, she said, Mike passed away peacefully in my arms. And is this even real? How could this, 60 years ago, women were getting 10 marriage proposals? I encourage you, go to the dorm of a college nearby. Go to Harvard, go to MIT. Forget marriage proposals. Ask the girls, how many of you were asked out on a date this month? There'll be date? Like, is that the vegetable, the fruit date? Dating is almost extinct. You have just the hooking up, the friends with benefits. And is anyone truly satisfied with this new arrangement? I don't think many of us are. And we're pining for something more. It's almost as if we all want this thing, why does it seem so hard to find? Why does it seem so difficult? The world obviously does not make it easy on us. The confusion that exists with the dating, sexuality, chastity. I mean, I think part of the confusion is that young people don't think about sex enough. Especially guys. Teenage guys, they almost never think about sex. Girls are like, what? But they don't. We talk about it, we joke about it, we listen to music about it, watch movies that portray it. But how often do we think about it? You know, what is human sexuality? What is its purpose? Who invented it? Why do we have it? What does it mean? What should it express? We don't spend a lot of time putting our mind to think about that. And as a result, we don't understand chastity either. The world has no grasp of the meaning of chastity. I could think of no better illustration to explain this, that when my wife and I were engaged, we received a phone call from England, from the BBC, and they wanted to do a documentary on our engagement because we weren't sleeping together or living together. Apparently, news traveled to England. Not sleeping together or shacking up, so they wanted to do this TV show on it. So I said, sure, come on out. So they brought the camera crews and the producer and everything, and they fly out. And they interviewed us for probably 5 or 6 hours, going on a date together. They filmed my wife trying on her wedding dress for the first time. They showed me surfing with my groomsmen, and they did all this documentary kind of stuff. Now, when the show was aired, they mailed us a video of it. And so we had been married a couple months at that point when it came out. Now we pop into the VCR, we're watching this thing, and the TV show that it was broadcast on was called Anna in Wonderland. And it's about this woman, Anna, who interviewed us, who visits different bizarre cultures around and she reports on their behavior back to England. So, I did some homework on Anna, and I found out that she's also done TV shows on female professional wrestlers, psychics, prostitutes, and people who believe they have animals living inside of them. Of course, my wife and I. This gives you a snapshot of just literally how bizarre the culture thinks this concept of chastity is. Chastity, isn't that some prudish, repressive, Victorian idea that sex is some shameful, bad, dirty, unmentionable thing? That's literally as far as they go when it thinks about chastity. They have no concept what it means. But the confusion exists when we bring this confusion into our own relationships. You look at what happens. The divorce right now, the divorce rates, I was at a high school in Washington State, public high school, and a young man came to me, and he said, I know what you mean about divorce. He said, my dad's on his 9th marriage. The boy's 16, and he's seeing his dad get 8 divorces already. Imagine your parents divorcing every other year of your life. Let alone going through one parent's divorce, try going through 8 of them. Now, how is this kid supposed to have a healthy relationship? I think that kid, more than anything, is just starving to know what does make love work. How can you make love work? How do you find it? How do you know it's real? How do you make it last? Because you look at the confusion out there in the world today. I saw People magazine had a cover with Bruce Willis after his divorce with Demi Moore. And the headline said, Sex, His Ex, and the Secret to a Happy Divorce. A happy divorce? Why can't they just tell us how to have a happy marriage? Because they don't know how to have a happy marriage. I saw a billboard in San Diego the other day for divorce attorneys, and it said, happy divorce. You know, and you call 800 whatever. Happy divorce. Do we really long for this? None of us do. And, you know, and I know in some difficult marriages, sometimes it's inevitable or whatever, some separations need to happen, but this confusion has left so many of us wondering, you know, is it really even possible nowadays? One of the women's magazines had a cover story. It said, A Newlywed's Guide to Divorce. Well, like, thanks for the vote of confidence. And so in the midst of this confusion, I think that you'll find more people than ever before are open to the message of chastity. Open to the message of trying things a little bit differently. Because maybe we've listened to the world and we've tried that approach that promised us everything and then frankly delivered nothing to us. And so I think what I find is a lot of people are open to this message. And what I'm going to propose today is just some thought, meditation, the solution to this chaos. Looking back to the Word of God and the Scriptures, to God's plan for love. In the heart of the Bible, right in the middle, is erotic love poetry. The Song of Songs. And I don't know if you've ever read this thing, but it's pretty steamy stuff. And it's right in the middle of the Bible. And you read through this, and you know, just the language of erotic love. What is God thinking putting this in the middle of the Bible? I mean, it talks about necks and breasts and this and that. And can you even say that in church? You know, what is that? But the reason God put this in the very heart of the Scriptures is because God thinks that nothing on earth more perfectly reflects His love for man than the true love of a husband for his bride. To give himself to her fully in a way that's free, that's total, that's faithful, that's life-giving. This is the very love of God for us. And so if you think, well, there's nothing better to reveal God's love to the world than the love between a husband and a wife, what is the devil going to go after? If there's a sign to reveal the presence of God and the devil does not want